around here, but occasionally we do see some really beautiful outcroppings of the rocks. Well, we think we found Courthouse Rock and Jailhouse Rock out in the middle of the Nebraska prairie, which was a landmark for the settlers going out west. All right, we have found Courthouse Rock and Jailhouse Rock. This was landmarks that the migration, the settlers going out west for direction in. There were 4 trails that passed by here. Let's see, the Oregon-California Trail, the Sydney Deadwood Trail, the Pony Express Trail, and the Mormon Trail. Chimney Rock, another landmark that directed the settlers, the immigrants, to the west.
The pioneers had their wagons, and we have the Galileo. And here we are, Chimney Rock. Here we are in Alliance, Nebraska. Notice the street's brick. That's the main street. I'm going to look around and see what we can find here in Alliance. Judy, I think we really took a wrong turn somewhere.
Really?
Yeah.
You're driving?
Yeah, I think we're in England. Huh. For you that don't know, this is Carhinge. And it's located in
Nebraska.
Alliance, Nebraska. Well, good morning. We're up in northwest Nebraska at Fort Robinson. And no, we didn't spend the time in this teepee here. I just wanted to point out we're on a parade ground. Off to your left over here is a 1905 Army barracks. This was an active fort for quite a few years. They even kept prisoners of war from World War II here. This building here used to be for officers' housing. Now it's a museum. There's some more barracks on the other side of the front end of the parade ground. There's the rest of the parade ground in behind the museum.
The men who served in the 9th and 10th Cavalry Unit were called the Buffalo Soldiers, and they were here at Fort Robinson, and they played an important part in the history of Fort Robinson and in the history of the area. There were 10 Buffalo Soldier Medal of Honor men who served here at the fort. Lieutenant John Alexander was the second African-American graduate of West Point, and Henry Plummer, the first black chaplain in the regular army, also served here. All right, we are passing the post headquarters. This that didn't have a sign, but we're fairly sure was a barracks. They certainly had a beautiful view at the back of their area. I don't know if we could catch those bluffs in the back, but it's beautiful. This is the adobe officers' quarters, one of the adobe buildings that they would have used. Now these adobe buildings are used as rentals. You can rent them and enjoy at your leisure the various aspects of Fort Robinson. Now we're passing officers' quarters. These were built in 1909. Now we have a shot of the stables, and these are still actively used. We saw a group of horsemen, equestrians, leaving the stables just a few minutes ago.
Crazy Horse was brought here and held and was shot. If you see that stone monument there, that's the spot he was shot. Then they brought him to this building, I believe. On this spot, September 5th, 1877, is where Crazy Horse was shot. He was then taken to the adjunct officer's cabin right there in the middle, and that's where he died. This building housed the soldiers. 1880s dormitory where the men stayed. I showed you some of the buildings on the other side of the fort. This is a parade ground, and you notice the buildings go all the way around the parade ground. During World War II, Fort Robinson also served as a POW camp for some 3,000 Germans that were used for local labor. And then after the war, when they were returned home, many of them decided to stay here in Nebraska. Similar to the prisoners kept in Iowa, they decided to stay in Iowa.
We're standing in the site of the Red Cloud Agency from 1873 through 1877. The blue placards around the edge of this field would have been where the buildings were. Off to the, I would assume, northeast, maybe northwest, was Fort Robinson. And at one time, there were about 13,000 Native Americans here in this area.
This is the original parade ground. Across the way, that's where Crazy Horse was wounded and then died. Our tour of Fort Robinson is not complete until Judy gets souvenirs for the kids. And if you recall from a previous video, Judy sends each of the grandkids a postcard so they can follow along with our journeys, but they can also go to YouTube.